Scoop with Alex and Jeff.
Welcome to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. What's up, guys? It is episode 156. We are excited we have a special guest today that we are going to introduce you to very soon. But man, it's been a busy weekend for me. I'm sure it has for you too. I had a big regional martial arts tournament, sport karate tournament in North Carolina this weekend. Had my students going. I was competing. I was also coordinating the event. It was wild. It was crazy, but it was a lot of fun. Alex, what about you?
Dude, it was a fun time. So normally I got this gig or that gig that I'm, spinning tracks at. They're always fun. I for the sheer sake of reps, I pretty much say yes to most gigs. Yeah. So, dude, I don't know if I told you this. Did I tell you I got a guy? I got like a kid that I basically hired. Did I already tell you that?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, dang. My father-in-law was like, Alex, I want to host a party on my deck and I want to have a big thing. I want you to do it. I'm like, all right, cool. When are we going to do it? And he's like, Saturday. And I'm like, that's going to be challenging. He wanted to do a karaoke party, like legit. And I'm like, man, I've never done that before. Let me see if my system can do that. Sure enough, it can. He's like, and I want to do music videos too. I want to cast those up. I'm like, now I really don't know if I could do that. So I was doing that too. It was
wow.
Wild. So that was cool. So yeah, the kid was doing like a different party. I was doing this one. It was a lot of fun, man. It was cool.
That's cool.
But one of the cool things about it is my father-in-law doesn't have the greatest health. Mm-hmm. So, but man, this guy loves his music. So it was a huge blessing to be able to do that and be able to get out there. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I mean, we were shaking the cul-de-sac. It was a cool time. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, we might even do. Here's the funny part. Everybody loved it so much, we might run it back on Sunday.
All right.
So that could be fun. Fun. But at the same time, and we'll get into this. At the same time, I'm hamming it up, as being the host and the MC, for this karaoke party. I'm like this, watching Karate Combat.
Oh, yeah.
Which we'll get into as well.
We will. But as always, guys, we're sponsored by Virtual Fight Tour. And Jesse Ray and Virtual Fight Tour have a fight coming up, but also that next day, the King of New York, which is a great tournament. Happens, it's back this year. Going to be, 2 rounds for all the adult black belt competition, or I think all black belt competition is going to be 2 rounds. So, going to be a great place to get all your fighting and everything in. And they release the prize money and everything for black belts. Man, this is the event to go to in that area. So, going to be awesome to see that. And then we get a little extra fun with Thomas Wright and Trey Lazenby.
Like
man,
Dunkin' Donuts coffee, extra.
Yeah, this is going to be wild. Last week we kind of did a background on Thomas Wright for people that maybe didn't know much about him. How great of a competitor he was, especially in the 90s. He was really, to me, probably one of my favorite junior fighters of all time.
Oh, he was a lot of people's favorites.
Yeah.
Like, because people will have like who they think is the best, but there's some people where they're just like, that guy's my favorite.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And he was a lot of people's
favorite.
Because
he was fun. He was good. He pulled, things out that you wouldn't think he'd be able to. And he talked trash while doing it too. So it just made it exciting.
He was athletic and he was skilled.
Yep.
So
this is going to be really exciting with him versus Trey. As we just saw, actually, I don't have the graphic, but we're talking about what, 250 to 170 to 175. I think is
I
the
think
difference
he's
in
like
weight.
I think I saw it was like 178, and I think Trey is listed at 250.
Yeah.
I think Trey, like the height was like 5'9", 5'10", and then
Yeah, it's only like a 2-inch difference in height. So height's not that big, you know.
height, but reach
But
is,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and I don't know what it is, you know.
Yeah.
So there are some guys
Yeah.
that are just
Yeah,
like
you're right, Andrew. Thomas was
really
awesome.
long. Yeah,
And
Thomas
yes,
Wright was really
he
good.
comes from the Ken Eubank stable. So
Right.
this is going to be just a fun way to get started. I don't know. We got info. It's not going to be in a cage because they're going to put it in the sport karate mats while they're setting up. So that's going to be Friday, which may actually be good because we can get some breaks and in case it goes with some extra late hits.
We might. The other thing the
and then
one
it's
thing
gonna
I
be
don't know
2
if it'll
rounds.
be entertaining or if it'll be challenging, but they may go out of the ring.
Yeah,
We may get a whole nother camera view.
that's
know
true.
what I mean?
It's true. Yeah, 70 pounds is a lot. You're right. It is a lot.
70
Mike.
pounds is a lot. And when there's bad blood, Mike, yeah. And there
Yeah.
is bad blood. You know what? We just kind of like we're hinting like, oh yeah, these guys got to pass. We didn't really say what it was. We can say what it was without getting on a side. So essentially, it's happening now. I'm saying what it was, right? So there was a few guys that went from Atlanta to Kentucky to fight in the regionals. Ken Eubanks' tournament, giving us prize money. Guys were free that weekend. Let's make the drive. Let's go. I think Jamon Wiggins was one of them. It was like a handful of them. They all went together, and they were getting on there because I didn't see it. I didn't watch any video, but they were just like, we're just getting robbed. They're just killing us. Nobody's giving us anything.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was like counts where they were just cursing at them with the hard ER on the end, right? That's the big deal. And that's what that's kind of where this kind of stemming from. So you got a handful of black guys going to Kentucky and guys yelling at them, say, get the heck out of here with a hard ER on the end of it. Whoo! I'm surprised there wasn't a fight right then and there.
Well, I think there was. That's what I heard. That's what it sounded like.
Oh, okay, maybe I didn't hear. Yeah. Well, either way.
Yeah. But I didn't. I don't know who all was involved in that part. You know what I mean? I think that was parents of other people.
That is what I gathered.
Not necessarily with this situation. This situation was more fueled up because of all that.
Right.
So I don't want people to think that
where the people
we're bringing in someone who, because I don't. That's the only thing I don't like. This is that, you know, that Thomas was that person that was doing that.
No. I don't. From what I gathered, he wasn't.
No. He was judging at one point, and they felt like that he wasn't calling some of his points.
Right. He was the center ref.
The next day, he was also a coach for someone, and they had gotten into it, and he just kind of, on his side, he thought there was a lot of disrespect. He's tired of them complaining. On Trey's side, he's saying you're robbing us. We felt disrespected. So both of them have different points. I think disrespect is the main thing on both of it.
Both of them. Because Trey, justifiably so, was like, listen, we're coming in this as the outsiders in more way than one. Right. Everybody here is hard ER'ing us, you know, meaning like the patrons and the spectators.
Yeah.
And they're your people. Whereas I don't believe Marty or Thomas were the ones using terms like that, but here they are. And now they're stuck in it, and now they're there. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And what amazes me is that they went back the next day.
Yeah.
That was amazing to me. But maybe it's, you know, maybe we're benefiting from it because now we're going to have this big grudge match essentially, because went back the next day. And Trey is no scrub, which is why he found himself fighting right in the end. And then now, when Thomas was the center, he didn't end up winning. And bad blood. Here we go. You didn't score. You have respect. You're jobbing me. you show respect, and it's just back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah.
And then it was, I'll fight you. No, you would get whooped. Oh, let's find out.
Yeah.
Here we're
Here we
gonna
go.
find out.
Yep. So this is going to be exciting. Next week, I'm sure we'll talk more about it as well. But let's go ahead, and I want to invite our guest in. We have onto the show Miss Maggie Messina. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing great. Great. How are you?
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for
Yes,
being
ma'am.
here.
Yes.
Thank you.
This is
Yeah,
going to
we
be
talked
great.
about having you on for a while now, right, Jeff?
Yeah. We have. We've been wanting
Our
to.
guests, we have like a list of guests. And we're talking about, is it the right time? Should we bring them on? Oh man, we forgot about these people. So it's always been in talks about who's been able to come on. There's some people who just don't talk to about being on at all. And then
And then it happens.
but yeah, we've been talking about having you on for a while.
Yes.
Great. Great.
So yeah, and you've been busy with everything going on, sponsoring and being heavily involved with several events, even the last event having a booth. So let's get into what is, Female Fighters Matter Too, and how did this start?
So basically, it started because I kept waiting for a change, something to change. I've been competing since the '80s, and in the '80s, I remember in Madison Square Garden, and it was kind of like we were in the corner. There weren't many women competing, and so we weren't taken seriously. That's the bottom truth. So as the years went on, it started to get a little bit better, but still, very we were just very dismissed. And it just wasn't getting better. And I'm waiting for something to change, waiting for someone to make a change. And then one day, I saw something that was so blatantly unfair, and I said, you know what, this is not okay. So at that moment, I decided, you know what, I'll give the money up for the women to bring it up to even field, to an even field. And it was the outpour of the women when that was done. And, when you have little kids coming to you, especially, and their fathers coming to you and the mothers coming to you saying, wow, that was great. We need so much more of that. It was pretty much, the cause was born. And, I'm not new to things like this. I mean, I've been fighting for rights my whole life.
Right.
I was also on the football team when I was in high school in the '80s, which is unheard of. It took me 2 years. And the coach says to me, he goes, you made the team, but we're going to smack you in the ass like everybody else. And same thing with the basketball and stuff. So it's not new to me.
Right.
It's, you want to do something, and it's very frustrating when you're not allowed just because of your sex. And, now here we are in the 2020s, and it's kind of the same thing. I think the mentality that really gets me is the mentality of, well, there's not enough women fighters. There's not as many women as men. I mean, I can see that. I have promoted a tournament for 5 years, and I could see that from that point. But, there's this thing they say, if you don't build it, people won't come. So you can't expect, the numbers to be there if you're not offering anything.
Right.
Because no one's going to come. And I remember when I had the last tournament in Long Island that I had, and I had offered a substantial amount for the women, and we had no shortage of fighters. But running the event's a lot of work, and it just wasn't for me. It's just not my thing. You have to really want to do it and have a really good team. So the female fighters, I just took all my focus to that, and just basically I've been putting up a lot of my own money.
Mhm.
I'll have people who donate money, and I'll take that money and I'll put it in the events that if they like a particular event, or an event where we see a promoter really stepping up. So it's not about promoters calling for money and not stepping up, because that's a problem too, is that there's a lot of people running events and they want money, but they're not willing to step up to the cause. And if we give you 1,000, 5,000 this year, and then next year you're not doing anything different, that's not really what it's about. So, as we grow, the movement is growing rapidly to a point where now I'm appointing ambassadors in different states. We also have Europe on board. We have Canada on board. So, it's growing fast, and it's a cause from the heart. It's just so we don't watch our little girls, today standing in the same position we're standing yesterday.
Well, Maggie, I want to pick your brain a little bit because you said to us earlier, you're like, I just got done teaching classes. And so we're all been involved, not just in martial arts for decades, but what happens in the classroom, in the organization, and in competition. More of you two on the promotion side. So what we don't have a shortage in is girls taking martial arts classes.
Right.
We don't have a shortage with girls in. In fact, I think if we were all honest, in the younger ages and the children's and the youth classes, sometimes there's more girls than boys.
Yeah, I have it right now as well because of everything where the world is and the safety and everything. I have more girls than boys. I kind of always have, but I think it's because I'm a woman. But now, it's 100% sign up, but you barely give information and they're already signed up.
Yep.
And it's because people are very afraid for their girls.
Well, I'm going to echo that, Maggie, because I'm not in the school every day anymore. I'm in 3 days a week. I teach my daughter's classes. That's what it is. But today was one of them. It's not a massive class. It's a small class with 12 kids, but 8 of them were girls. So then let's dissect this a bit.
Correct.
Because now we are all, I think, going to acknowledge that. Like, this is what we have. This is what we're doing. And you said, like, from a safety standpoint, we don't even have to pitch. There's just boom, yeah, sign up. Here we go. And I feel like they're still there even when they're teenagers, because the teenage girls divisions, they're packed.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
What's happening?
Okay.
There's
So
a switch.
Yeah.
What's happening?
It's like this. Okay. If you don't make people feel important, why in the world would they go to your event? Why am I going to take my students to your event? And it's so blatant that it's the two sides of the fence. Number one, I'm not, as an instructor, going to expose my girls to that type of behavior or type of treatment. And the parents, why would anyone want to expose their child to such unfairness? We are at a point where that storyline is getting really old. Well, if there was more women or more girls, then, it would be different, or women or girls aren't as fun to watch. It's nonsense. That's just nonsense. People have to change that mindset. And, I find a lot of times it's our generation feeding the younger male generation that information. So if an instructor says, yeah, well, we don't really have that much with the women divisions or girls divisions because of this. I mean, I did an interview with someone, and the young gentleman had repeated that. Well, there's not many girls as guys, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, here we go again. Like, who fed you that information? Because that's not so. And if that is true for your event, then that's something you need to do to change it. Or,
Yeah. So I would agree with you. Because we just talked about, like, in our schools,
we got
more girls than boys.
Big time.
In the teenagers, there's more girls than boys. There is some validity in the adults. There are not more women than men. So what's happening? What do you think some of the reasons are?
Well, I think women are, they can be intimidated by men. Also, it could be a bit intimidating. I mean, when I was practicing in the 80s, I was the only woman in my school for 2 years. There were women, and then all, got pregnant or whatever, and people went part ways, and I was the only woman. I mean, the way I was treated was like one of the guys, but I grew up with big brothers that kicked my ass on a regular basis, just to make me tough. So for me, that was not unfamiliar, and I actually welcomed it. So, but for a woman or a girl not exposed to that, big brother love, that can be really intimidating. I also think it has a lot to do with who's running the school, who's giving the classes.
Say that again. Say it again.
Yeah. Who's running the school, your approach. I mean, what does your school look like? I mean, let's be real. I've been watching. I've been online, and every once in a while, I'll see somebody post some movies about their school. And, I have to say, the most important thing is when I walk into a school is the smell and the cleanliness.
Mm. Yep.
And I will tell you that some of these schools are disgusting. And I'm embarrassed that they would even put a video of their school online. And who the hell wants to work it out in school that smells like urine? Like,
You know what's funny about that is, Jeff, remember when we had Josh Smith on and we did like,
Yeah.
a school owner highlight?
Correct.
And he probably went on for like 15, 20 minutes about how he cleans the school.
Yeah, exactly.
And how Windex is his best friend.
Yeah.
it's not that
martial arts
complicated.
owner.
You
Right.
come into the system and you stick with it. You don't do it because it's COVID. You do it because
No, just
it's the
'cause-
way you're supposed to do it every single day.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
So I personally, I would not work out in a dirty, filthy school because I don't want to, pick up anything. And, it really sets presence about what the person's about.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to lean into a little bit about what you said. When you said, let's look at like where they're training. Who is it? Who's training them? Where their studio or school is. I think that is the answer.
Yes.
Mhm.
Because let's just look at our competition, right? Let's just look at that, even though it starts long before it gets to there. Okay. So let's look at competition. Don't have a problem with any age bracket of the girls. Not one. They're packed, right? From all over the country. Although we do have pockets where there's larger competitors from this area because we have more people bringing people. Like there's just going to be more people from Florida.
Right.
There just is.
Just
There's going
is,
to be
yeah.
more people from New England. There just is. All right. And I think now there's going to be more from like the central area, like Tennessee, because we started to build that up a little bit more now. There's starting to be more schools and more people supporting bigger tournaments now from that area. That is where it's all about. You don't see as many from other areas. And I'll tell you, you mentioned it earlier, Maggie, because maybe women just done training there, like when you're a kid, like a lot of times you don't really have a choice.
Right.
My dad, all right, told me this. And this, I think I was a brown belt, and I was probably like 13, right? And I'm doing 13-year-old things where I'm like, my friend asked me to go hang out. All right, I'm not gonna go to class. I'm gonna go hang out with him. And my dad said to me, I did that 2 times. And on the second time, he goes, remember, I'm a brown belt, I'm not a black belt then at this point. And he goes, we're not ending this thing. You're becoming a black belt. That's the way it is. You're at least getting to that point. I was like shocked, like, oh my gosh, why would you think I wouldn't want to? But then I looked at my actions and I went, that's why you said it.
Right.
We can do that to kids. We can do that to teenagers. When they get to an adult, if they didn't want to, they can go, yeah, this place kind of sucks.
Yeah.
This place kind of stinks.
Right.
I really don't want to be here. That's low level. What I think big picture might be when we start training, who are they training with? Here's an example. All right. Some names that years ago, people would recognize them as notable juniors. Young girl that I used to train, her name was Ashley Dahlquist. She was on Team Straight Up. She's a very talented fighter. When she first turned adult, I was like, listen, there are like 3 people who are in the women's divisions who are more talented than her. All right. And 2 of them are Chelsea and Morgan. Right. And that's how talented she was. And I also trained Ross Cook. And this dude is a beast, physical specimen.
Yeah.
She used to make Ross cry. She used to make Ross cry when they were kids. But then when they start training together, like he's 6'3", 185, right? And faster than a bullet, right? And he's got tree trunks for legs. You can't make a 112-pound girl fight that. That's just
like all the time.
You can, but when they start fighting hard, because he's not trying to hurt anybody, but if he goes full speed, because that's what we do in this game, guess what's going to happen? That's why we don't have heavyweights fight lightweights in the divisions or in just normal divisions. It has to be special to do that. But if that's what we're doing in the schools all the time, what do we think is going to happen?
Yeah.
So yeah. So I mean, there needs to be more. Sean Elliott has been doing some female training, just inviting just the females to get together. I know that Jody did an all female seminar. There needs to be some things like it. Doesn't mean separated all the time that all the classes are separated, but offer some training where it's specialized for that, right? If that's what you want. I mean, I've seen it too. I've seen my teenagers want to do it, and then when it gets to adult, they're like, I don't want to do that anymore. And some of it, they'll say, no, that's well, part of it is that they see when they get to adults that there isn't as many. So that kind of, just from the offset, it's kind of like, why do I want to do that? There's a lot, right here. But now, I'm going to focus on college. I'm going to focus on this. There's other things they focus on.
You hit it, Jeff, because I think before Maggie's moved,
which they all deal with.
Future. I mean, martial arts right now, that's not a future. I mean, it could be if you're, you want to run your own school, but let's be real. I mean, you have to be a pretty special person to love this that much to want to do that, because it could be a very thankless job at times, especially with COVID and everything. But it takes a special person to really love and want to do this. And just for the good of the people. Kids, they graduate, they turn 18, 19, they get into college, and then, everything veers, they're free. And, we just don't know which way they're going to veer. So,
so Maggie, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the US Open, and that issue there. Andrew has talked about this, like when our sport's biggest tournament doesn't highlight women's fighting, but your sponsor, your logo's there. So can you explain that situation?
I'm going to be very transparent with this. Basically, they didn't have anyone that they felt was stage worthy.
Okay.
I mean, that's bottom line. And that's very sad. And I don't know if it's the fighting, their fight ability or their look ability.
But they'll put a 10-year-old up there.
Yeah, it's just, for me, when I got that information, because my phone was ringing and my inbox was full.
Yeah.
I was like, how could this happen?
Right. Yeah.
And it just can't happen again.
No.
I mean, because then if my logo's on stage, I'm given a sponsorship, and then there's no fighting on stage.
Right.
That is like, I mean, I was speechless.
Yeah. Well, and that's like what you had said earlier. You're giving them this, but they got to follow up, right? They gotta show that they're.
Bottom line is this: forward. If you're not, you may not have a Morgan Plowden or whoever you feel is, stage worthy there, but you have to give the other women that show up the fair shake. They showed up. Yep. And why now here we go again. Why would anybody show up to that event next year to fight after what happened this year?
Exactly.
Yeah, Morgan didn't start out as
No.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, and then you think about the person that did win, and they won both divisions, the 30 plus and the 18, and she's from that area. Like, you think that they would want to highlight their fighters from that area,
here's what I appreciate about.
And I don't want to but everyone admits, and I hope they admit, that was a bad look and a bad thing for the sport.
You know what I appreciate about the U.S. Open, though? The U.S. Open is they at least own who they are.
Right.
They don't try to be like, well, we were just kind of pinched for time.
They're very honest. I mean, what are you going to do about it?
It's a bad excuse, but at least it's an honest excuse.
Correct.
So, and I am all for, hey, this is my tournament. I do what the hell I want with my tournament. Fine. It's just shitty that that's what you wanted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when you said, Maggie, like, why would anybody go back?
When you get to a certain level and you have so many different people involved, the choice kind of isn't yours anymore. To some degree. Yeah. And I think that's what people fail to see, that, you want to make your event worldwide. You want it on TV. You want it televised. You want all this stuff. But with that comes stipulations. And, and then you're, what do you want? This or that? I mean, if you're trying to build it, you're going to take, you're going to sell your soul a little bit.
Right.
Well,
now I do want to say
they
there.
did, and that's why they have to go younger and younger. They
Right.
just have to. The way the sport is going, it just has to keep going younger and younger and younger.
Yeah.
Right.
I do want to say though, there was females on the stage though.
Oh
So
yeah,
we
absolutely.
don't,
Yeah.
they're for forms and weapons.
Right.
So,
right.
there is that representation for the young girls that do that. But there also needs to be, which really has been the issue with that event anyway, it's just more for the fighters, right? And again, like we said, though, that's US Open at least says they're honest about who they are. That's what they feel like is going to draw more people to watch it. So
I mean, it is a hell of an event. It's huge.
yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, even with COVID and everything, they still pulled it off. And sometimes you got to make a trade,
Right.
and
So-
but you got to live with that trade.
Correct. What are some of the biggest changes you have seen since starting this? How long have you started this? How long has it been now?
The Female Fighters Matter too. I started it. It was the first event I did. It was at the WKC. That event, and that's and I have to say, Mr. Plowden, he was very, accepting, and he was all for it. He has a daughter, and he loves the sport as much as I. And it started at that event, and I have seen improvement because people are much more willing now to at least hear it out. The solution I came up with is a win-win. It's a win-win remedy. I mean, why anyone says no to it, I don't understand. It's I came up with being a promoter and then being a competitor and a business person. I said, what can we do where all sides win? And basically, if money is brought to your event to bring a little bit more equal, to bring the women up more, give them more stage time, you're going to get money for your event, so you win. The women are going to get on stage and they're going to, go to the event because they're going to feel appreciated. So they win, and then the movement wins. So it's a win-win formula. I just think that some people's ego, they have to step out of their way because some people are so far in their own way that they don't even want to hear it. And I get that's what, there's a lot of that in the martial arts, but, if you don't get out of your own way, you're not going to grow, and it doesn't matter. One thing that I have to say is just because you're a great fighter, just because you're a great form specialist or whatever, doesn't make you a great promoter, and it doesn't make you a great teacher.
Right.
Okay. So
no truer statement has been said yet than that.
No, it doesn't.
So it doesn't make you a good manager. All those things that are required. So and it just kept going. And then I just decided to start making t-shirts. So I was actually the t-shirt idea. I started making in my own basement in my school. I got a press and all that. I started making them. And then, I started selling them, and 100% of the profits go back into the cause. And I still never cover. It never covers it. So, which I'm fine with. And then it got so busy. I was like, oh, I can't make all these t-shirts. So I started, I found an overseas, and I started, getting this stuff brought in. So, it's growing bigger and bigger. And now, hopefully people start, doing a little bit more than just taking the money in. I was very impressed with Amerikick.
Okay.
To say, they really, stepped up.
Why is that? What did Amerikick do that was different?
They were very open to, this is the FFM2 movement and everything. They really, I feel they highlighted the women, they highlighted the cause, and there's a lot of awareness about it in their event. So when I'm at their event, I could feel it, from all the women, and like you could feel the appreciative, you could feel the happiness.
Okay.
Amongst those divisions, you could just feel it in the room. US Open, that was a great event. Dennis Brown, and people think
Capital Classics.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yeah.
Capital Classics. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a great event. And, people think he did it because he has two daughters. It had nothing to do. It was like just Emily called me, we talked, and then, all of us just talked and said, hey, let's do it. Let's make this really special. And that's what we did. And it just happened, and it went great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
There was some a little bit, unhappy. Other folks weren't happy about it or whatever. But I'm a very direct person, So you'll never have to worry about what I'm thinking, because I'm going to come right to your face and tell you. If I hear something or whatever, I'm going to come to you and say, listen, this is what I hear you said. Is this what you said? And this is what you meant. So that's basically what I do. And so I think sometimes people don't know what to do with that. They're like, oh, wow, you're so forward. But no, let's find a solution. That's all I want. Let's find the solution for what you think is a problem. And let's see what happens moving forward. I mean,
So
it's
Maggie,
not about giving people money to give away and them not do something in return.
Correct.
okay, let's story tell a little bit here. So when we first started the pod, I used to tell the listeners, that the insiders, that anytime Jeff would tell a story, that it was like story time with Uncle Jeff.
Yeah.
But no, I want to hear something. Tell me one of, maybe not the most, I don't know, maybe you can't even think of it, the most egregious, you can't make this shit up type of moment, like unfairness for women.
Well,
Yeah, I wanted to hear.
No, I mean,
I got a couple, but
yeah.
You are the female
Yeah, I
fighters
mean,
matters too.
okay, so you go into an event, and here you are. You spent 6 months of really training for this event because it's supposed to be the best event. This is the best event. Their reputation is a stellar reputation. So you're training and you get there, and then you basically feel like you have strung out people judging you.
What?
Oh, Lord.
Strung out?
Yeah.
And then, you're not going to name drop nothing, are you?
Yeah, all I can say is Maryland. But
okay, no.
And I remember, and to a point where I just said, I'm in the middle of doing my form, and I just stopped, and I said, "What the hell is this?" And I had all my students. I said, "Let's go. We're leaving." And they're like, "But we didn't compete yet."
Time out. You were in the middle of your form.
I stopped. I mean, no teeth in their mouth, like they were strung out on crack or something. It was terrible.
Wow.
No, you asked for a story. That's a story.
Yeah.
That I was so disgusted. And then the fighting, when this women sparring, I mean, the biasness was so bad.
Yeah.
It was terrible. Where, I mean, the person didn't even throw a kick, and they got 2 points. It was terrible. I mean, you asked for the worst. That was probably one of the worst.
Yeah, and I already know that,
because as I'm doing my form, I'm like, what am I doing here? Look at these people.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. I've been there.
And it was really bad. And it was very embarrassing as a martial arts school owner. I had my students, and my students train really hard, and they do really well when they do compete. And I had a pretty good team. And try explaining that. I was just thankful not many parents went.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man.
But yeah, it's like, I don't know. Like, what did you just get these people off the street?
Wow, that was something. Did not expect that. I got a couple of uncomfortable ones, and I know Jeff's got a dozen because he is Jeff Doss. But this was. Do you remember Ed Allure?
Yes, I do.
Back in the day, the guy made the best commas. Well,
he did.
Before Joe Greenhaw started making them. All right. So I had me a pair of Ed Allure commas. Man, these things were the shit. All right. I still have a pair. That's how good they are, right? Still got a pair.
Yep.
My G-Force ones are better, but neither here nor there. All right.
Joey's listening right now. You better say.
Whether he is or he isn't, it's not trying to be an endorsement, but they're that good. But anyway, so I remember being like, I got to get me another pair, and Ed was like, "You got to talk to my daughter, Vanessa," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, no problem." And so I went, and she's like, I can't get, and it was like at the New England Open, like when I was going to be there, I'm going to get it from her. Like, okay, so you're just going to have to get it from me on Saturday. And so I got it from her on Saturday, and she was like visibly upset. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? She goes, I just got done competing. And I'm like, how'd you do? She's like, well, I won first place. I'm like, oh, well, that's great. Like, well, because I didn't know her to this point. I'm like, well, what was your division? She's like, soft style. And I'm like, I don't really know anything about it. So thumbs up. Congratulations. And she was like, well, I was going to win, but there was only like 3 people in the division. And I'm like, so I don't understand why you're upset. What are you upset about? Right? She said, now I know who this guy is, and I don't want to say his name. It's a rare time where I'm not going to out somebody. And she was telling me, he said that he only gave me the win because I looked better than the other girls in the division. And I'm like, get the heck out of here.
God.
And then no later did he walk up while she and I are talking. And I'm like, this is uncomfortable, right? And I know him. We know each other. And he's like, congratulations. She's like, I don't want to talk to you. And he's like, well, it's like literally happening right in front of my eyes. Can't believe I'm here. I'm like, so don't want to be there. That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think I know who you're talking about. Because let me give you. I have another one for you, and it might be the same guy. I was competing in the women's division. It was senior women's division. I think it was. Where was it? I can't remember. Maybe it was Chicago. I just can't remember. But this person was judging, and first he says to my guys in the Korean division, he goes, I was going to take some points off for that form because it's not real tradition. So I go up. I said to him, "What are you talking about?" I said, "We're in tradition." I said, "I'm more tradition than most schools. Why are you saying that to my student that he did Yushin and it was a traditional form?"
Right.
And he's, "No, it wasn't." So I was like, okay, this guy's like really hit me in the wrong way.
Doesn't get it.
Fast forward, I go to compete in my division.
No.
He's giving out scores and he gives a score to one of the women and he puts a smiley face on it.
Yeah.
He gives her a 10. And I'm not saying she was good or not good or whatever, but she didn't deserve the 10. I'm sorry. And he puts a smiley face on it. And so, of course, after I said, well, I feel that was very inappropriate. And you know what he did? He took his leg and wrapped it around me. He says, "Oh, do you want me to wrap my legs around you?" I said, "Motherfucker, you better."
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was like,
what?
This is the stuff, man. This is why. Yeah.
I'm like, are you serious? It took everything in my being because I was already upset about him for saying that I don't know what Korean traditional is. And then this guy, seriously, like I don't even know if he knows martial arts. And then to do that, make the smiley face and then do that. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
What kind of circus is this?
Exactly. And this is the kind of stuff that like we got to get rid of these type of people, honestly, in our sport, because that's what's hurting. I mean, just that attitude that it's terrible. It's like, why does no one needs to be succumbed to that. You know what I mean? Especially if they're going to do something like
very uncomfortable. And, it's come on, I've been, I'm not a young chicken. And I understand, I've been through some shit when I worked for Sloan Kettering or whatever other places. And there's, back in the day, things were accepted, because women were just new in the workforce or whatever. But, I was just like, wow. And Jeff, you know me. I would have floored this guy.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Students were there. And I was like, deep breath.
Yeah.
Deep breath, good breathing. And yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, just this week,
Let's hear it.
My
and then I want to share the actual most egregious one.
One of my students, and her mom just said, "We're tired of this guy continuing to ask when does she turn 18?" It's like, why are you asking that? Like, what do you And then, and like, she's 14, and you've been asking her this since she was 12. Like, come on now, stop. It's not funny. It's not appropriate. It's just wrong.
Very inappropriate.
Yeah. And, and so,
Dude,
and then, he goes and says something to somebody else, it's like, come on, like we hear everything you're saying, so that's not just one person. There's many that do things like that. And I don't know if I don't know what their mindset is or that. Some of it think it's just something to say, and then that, oh, it's fine, whatever, it's not a big deal.
Well, in their
But
heads,
it
they think
is.
that's okay because
Right.
wherever they're brought up or wherever
Exactly.
they may be from, you know, that's the way they treat people. But it's
Right.
not okay, you
No.
know, and it
Exactly.
makes you very uncomfortable. I
Exactly.
thank goodness I haven't seen that man since.
Right.
I've been looking for him, but I haven't found him because, you know,
Well,
it just, you know, how many other people are you making feel uncomfortable?
Correct.
And
you
not
said
only
it.
that, let's forget the woman thing about, you know, telling people that their style is not tradition
Oh
when
yeah.
it in fact is. You
Correct.
know,
Correct.
They
why
don't
would
even
you
know.
don't even say anything. Keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just judge. If you don't like what you see, judge and give
Hey,
your
so
support, and that's it.
so Alex, we
Well, I
kind of
want to
this may be
share.
you go ahead, share this, but
I want to share one, and I am going to name drop on this one. I'm going to name drop everyone on this. So this happened. Good friend of mine, Hamid Farouzi. He just decided he's like, yeah, I'm probably never going to fight again. But his wife, Ashley, was still competing. Now, at this point, it is 2015. It is the start of the year. We're at the AKA Warrior Cup. Okay. So Hamid's coaching, Ashley's fighting. She's fighting Mel Ortiz. Both of them have gone back and forth. This is going to be a good fight. It ends 2-3. And Hamid's like, and in his head, he goes, man, that felt like that was short. And immediately after Mel and Ashley shake hands, Mel comes over to Hamid and goes, that fight felt short. So Hamid goes, you know what? I'm going to go up to the center, who is Muhammad Jahan Bosch. And he goes, Muhammad, are you sure that was 2 minutes? And he goes, I'm not going to ask the scorekeeper, the timekeeper. I trust them. I've worked with them for years. I know they're good. And he goes, I'm just saying that felt short. Leave it alone. Don't worry about it. Here's how strange Hamid is. Hamid can be over here having a conversation with this person while paying attention to what's happening here, right? Scott, that's why he's an engineer. I'm not making this up. So he's over here doing this. The match ends and he goes, that was short, right? And he's like, that's it. Now I'm going to time the next one, all right? But a few matches have gone, all right? Times the next match. It's 90 seconds on the dot.
Mm.
And he goes to Muhammad and he goes, Muhammad, none of these fights have been the right time. That was 90 seconds, right?
Wow.
Now we're about to have the last fight for the division. We're about to fight for first place. So now Muhammad finds himself in a pickle because Hamid has put it in his face. Like, no, it's wrong. Here it is. So now he has to go to the timekeeper and he goes, hey, how long have you been doing the matches? And she goes, 90 seconds. All women's matches are 90 seconds, right?
Mm.
So the right answer at this point is to redo the whole dang division.
Yeah.
Because nothing is right. So who gets involved? Larry Carnahan. This was the solution. Obviously, you can tell by the way I'm name dropping, it wasn't the right one, right? The solution to this predicament that we're in, nobody is fair. So every single match really could have ended the opposite way. It's like the last 30 seconds of a match.
That's a
Right.
lot of time.
Yeah.
That's a fourth of the fight.
Right.
You train everything. You at least go, okay, these are the rules I'm training for. This is what I'm doing. I'll train for this. But this is not what the rules are.
Right.
Right? What you trained for, they robbed you and they took it from you and didn't tell you. Heck, in the NBL days, right? Jeff,
Yeah,
30
it
seconds,
was-
you stop the time. That's
Yeah.
how valuable the last 30 seconds is.
Right.
So the solution was, well, you know what? We want to make this fair. So because all the other matches were 90 seconds, we'll make this one 90 seconds too.
Yeah.
No, that's the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
And at that point, Hamid says, he goes, I will never step foot in another karate tournament ever again.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that was it. That's the last time you'll ever see his face, I believe. And that's really sad because look at that. And he goes, why would I invest time, money, and energy when they're just so flippantly like, I don't care about you. You mean nothing to me. And that's
Right.
2015. He was fighting for championships the year before, like 6 months prior to that.
Right.
NK beat the All-Stars with him on it, anchoring.
Right.
And he meant nothing.
Yeah. So
That
Yeah.
How sad is that?
correct.
That's how quickly people will just forget you. That's how quickly it'll just like, you don't matter. So that's where, when we're talking about what matters, because you have to run that back. Go, all right, if that was the men's middleweight division, what would we do?
Right.
There's no way that plays out
No.
where we don't redo that entire division. There's no
Yeah.
scenario in which that doesn't happen.
We have
And you
a
know what? At the end
yeah.
of the day, I mean, you know, it should have been caught right away. I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Definitely. Should have been listened to before.
yeah, exactly.
Should have been caught
Yeah.
right away. But you know what?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because you know, as a competitor, you know, that happens, and it's like, how much are you gonna, you know, I got to a point. How many times am I going to take my students to a tournament? And you know, okay, I'll give you one that was in Wales. So I have one of my guys, and he's you know, the guy Chris, and he was doing forms.
Yeah.
And the two guys that are on stage with him from different countries are arguing. Like I'm talking about almost punching each other, like that bad.
Yeah.
And you know, my students waiting to just do the damn grands. These guys are fighting, almost like fist fighting. And because you shouldn't be doing forms because you didn't win this division, back and forth, back and forth. My thing was, you should both be disqualified.
Right.
But of course, no, the promoter went out of his way to make nice for these two jerks that shouldn't have. I mean, that's not a martial artist. I'm sorry.
No. Exactly.
And then my guy's waiting to go. And meanwhile, one of those guys won and my guy lost. How can he lose with these two guys with such bad sportsmanship?
Now, if this were like a closed circuit, any one of the closed circuit ones, like let's say WKF, disqualified on the spot.
Absolutely.
Right.
On the spot.
Right. Yep.
They're taken more seriously than we are. When I believe the skill and talent level is greater where we are, but we don't know what the hell we're doing.
Yeah.
Or organizationally.
It's again, like everything, it's just everyone wants their way to be. Their way is more important.
The ego.
It's ego. It's ego. I mean, it's so bad. I mean, I've been involved in where I've had to run back divisions in New York before, where in the middle of my form, a guy just up and left and went to coach his student while he's supposed to be judging. And then, like, I think someone else did their form with the two, and finally we said, wait, we can't do this. We got to do this all over again, because we were trying to finish a division with two judges. And it was like, this ain't gonna work, and it was bad. And then the sport.
How can you do that at an event and then think you have a serious event? Your event sucks. It doesn't mean. Come on, you can't.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. Oh well, this excuse, that excuse. There is no excuse.
Right.
Okay. If you claim you're a professional event, then you need to run it. You know, there's some New York events I won't go to. You know, not just saying New York, but you know, obviously other places. But you know, you have to stand for what's right, and when it's wrong, you have to do your best to fix it at that moment, and then next year it should not happen again. When it keeps happening, it's like the whole
you're
thing is,
picking the wrong people.
Will forget by next year.
Yeah,
no. Not the people that you don't want to forget.
Right.
So, and it's interesting when you say like, you know, when you say like, there's tournaments I'll never go to. I remember, you know, when she was winning everything, Chelsea Nash would not go to the AK Warrior Cup.
Yep.
Because they didn't give the women the Warrior Cup. They didn't give the women a Warrior Cup or give them, I think, a cash prize.
No, nothing.
They just gave nothing. They just gave them, hell, you're competing.
How do you think how do you think that made us feel? Like, why?
Right.
You know, there is no God. I mean, if women are showing up to compete, you can't just not give us nothing. Like that's just such a bad message.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to push back on that a little bit. And I think you're right, but two things can be true. Okay. I think you can give them nothing if nothing is given to anybody. What you can't have is a blatant.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Bias. Right.
Yeah.
If you're going to get $500, give $500 to both.
Right.
Don't give 500 and 100.
Oh yeah, that's when it's just
it's a slap in the face. It's really a slap in the face, and that's what was happening at the event, that the first one that I sponsored. it was 200 for the women and 1,000 for the men. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
that is just, it just looks so bad on paper.
Yeah.
But in every other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, and so when I was part of the NBL, one of the biggest gripes I had was what they would do was just say, here is the amounts, the minimum amounts that you have to give. Okay. And then, it would be 1,000 for the men and 300 for the women. And now to me, that's just way too much of a gap. And so every year I kept trying to put that more and more and more until finally I was able to build it up to where it was even. And we were doing, 1,000 for both, and then 500 for both open weight. And, mine was considered a national, but it was still just a big regional type event, right?
But it was
With
like
a lot
the
of
people's
high
tournament.
level, with a lot of high level competitors on the East Coast. But it always made me mad when people say, like, this is the minimum. Okay, that doesn't mean that's the most you can give. Well, this is what he says I have to give. No, he's giving you just an idea of
Exactly.
at least
that's
do
the
this.
starting point.
A starting point. Now you can move it up. But no one ever thought of it that way. They just thought of it as, well, this is what I have to give. I'm like, you can give more. Like, I know you bring in more than that. You can get sponsors to cover that. It's like, come on now, and that was a big issue I had with a lot of the tournaments that I was working with, was because they kind of limited themselves and didn't really think about, well, you're wondering why you're not getting these people because you're playing at the minimum. Like,
Exactly.
if you want your,
I'm sure that's the way they do everything else in their life.
right,
There's certain
exactly.
things culturally that we've gone this far, it would take a lot to change. And one of them is paying adult black belts for the grand championship.
Yeah.
Can't go back and then say, well, we'll just make this separate division the prize money. It's kind of too late now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I've been saying, I think I say, I don't know, like every 4 weeks. I think we have sponsorships backwards. I think we should be sponsoring kids, not adults. But it's kind of too late now.
Right.
What are you going to do now? It would have to take more just a team to just decide to do that, because then it would just be a team of juniors, because you wouldn't have a team of adults. They'd be like, well, this team's sponsoring. Why would I be on yours? So you just wouldn't do it, which I get that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I want to bring up what Mike just said here. All right. So what Mike said, when you give the guys the prize money that you advertise for the women. So I know about this tournament, and there was a guy who won, and they were just, it was $100 for both, but there was a stipulation for the women. There needed to be X amount before they won, before they had a prize money. So the winner for the men goes, hey, what do we got to do to make this 100, 200? And he goes, well, if you win, I'll give you 200. There it goes. So now the men's winner just ended up with $200. Not his fault, And I know him. He assumed that the promoter was going to say, get the heck out of here. But he asked the question. You know what I mean? It's not his fault. But man, doesn't that look bad?
Right.
When you advertise 100 and 100, and instead you give 0 and 200.
Yeah. Yeah, that's bad.
It doesn't get worse looking than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Alex, I've been in a tournament where you were at and you were fighting, and they pretty much said, if you win the women's division, if you want money, you have to compete in the men's grand.
Oh my gosh.
And so, I mean, and apparently that's how it happens all the time at those events up there. So
but they've changed now. They have changed, and they are as equal as you could imagine there. But they were as backward as you could think. And I'm telling you, there was times. Okay, I'm gonna go back, not too far. It was 2001, right? But what this 2001? It's not 1981, right?
Right.
It's 2001. School owners and school managers, you get these flyers for go to this tournament, go play for it, and you glance at it and you go, and you throw it in the garbage because you never heard of this before, right? Like, I get this stuff in the mail all the time. Well, get this one. It says grand champions compete at the end of the year for 2 tickets and accommodations to Las Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
far away is this? 2 hours? I'll make the drive for tickets to Vegas. Let's go. So I win the grand for the fighting and the form. Got my name in the hat for 2. This sounds great. Well, at the end of the year, right, there's a tournament, and then there's a champion of champions at the end. Pretty big deal. It was a really cool event the way that they set it up. Man, I got booed so hard. Never been booed like this before. So there was, Jeff, just like you said, I'm fighting in my division. I'm fighting a woman, right? And
In your division.
in my division.
Wow.
And not only am I like, what's going on here, right? We're all just going to let this happen.
Right.
This is happening. There's no juniors, right? My brother went with me. He was 16, and he's like, there's no one for me to fight. And I'm like, just come to the adults. And even he was a little uncomfortable. He's like, are you sure about that? And I'm like, let's give it a shot, man. Let's see what happens. Right. And he was a little nervous. He was a little gun shy. He made it through a couple. He didn't win, but it was okay. And Adam's talented then, super talented. So I'm fighting this woman. And not only am I like, what are we doing here? She doesn't have a headgear on.
Right.
And I'm like, we're really back in the 80s, right? What's happening, Maggie? You probably fought like this, right?
Yeah, no gear. Yeah.
Yeah.
As
So
an
I'm
80s.
like, and she's taller than me too. I mean, she is a giant, right? And I remember at one point, she seemed a little nervous, but was coming at me hard, right? And I'm like, I'm just trying to move and pick her off so that I'm not really engaging hard. Well, here's the problem. When you don't wear a headgear, right? The headgear actually gives you a target to hit because here's the headgear all around. Hit this target.
Mhm.
When you don't have a headgear on, you hit what you see, which is eyes, nose, and mouth. So she's charging at me, and I lean back and I hook kick her in the eyeball.
Oh,
right?
God.
And I'm like, they're booing me so hard. I'm like, I'm not gonna get out of this building. Right? This is so bad. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
Right. Why you put people in that situation?
Yeah.
But if we keep ending up with 4 women's fighting divisions and 8 people in them, eventually we're going to go down to 2 divisions, and eventually we're going to go down to 1.
Right.
And then some of them are going to be asking if they can fight in the men's, and then we're going to be
I
right
don't
back where we were.
See, I don't think it's that. It doesn't have to go there.
Of course it doesn't.
No, it doesn't have to. No,
I mean, we're so far from it having to go there. I mean, the events that go there probably shouldn't be events.
Correct.
Because you're
that's
obviously
so true.
something very wrong.
Correct.
I
You're so
mean,
right. Yeah.
That's the thing too, is about a lot of martial tournaments. There's no real accountability for some events. They get to do whatever they want. They
Which
have
is okay. Which
whatever they want.
I'm totally okay with people doing whatever they want, because that's transparency. Like, you tell us what you're all about now.
To being unfair.
Yeah.
At least now
Right.
you know.
Oh, that person's not going to win because of this and that and this and that, and the judges are blatantly giving you a bad score. I mean,
So there's like some promoters that and events like I really like the Infinity National Championships, right? That Mike Welch hosts. It is not a massive tournament, but he's just a good guy. He does a good tournament and he's fair. I like that tournament, right?
Mhm.
And it's not, I will tell you this, and I'm not trying to promote this tournament. It has all the makings to where if it grew by like 3,000, he could host and house all of that where he is right now. It's a super cool event and venue. But there's things like that where it's like, I feel good about this. Everybody feels good where we're at. We're having a good time. Everything seems fair. We want to promote. We want to be a part of events and tournaments like that.
Right.
But then when we go to tournaments where like I'm kicking the woman's eyeball out of her head, right? Never going back to that. Right?
Exactly.
Right.
So then on one side we go, you know what? At least this I do whatever the heck I want tells us exactly who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. All right. So, Maggie, what is something as far as what's your next goal with this? What's the next event you're being a part of?
The goal is to have to set up the ambassadors in different states and countries.
Okay.
This way we can keep the flow going. And I'm not sure about the diamonds. I'm still in discussion.
Okay.
I want to do something, but I haven't gotten any feedback. Definitely Pan Ams.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
definitely
Awesome.
Pan Ams. Also Jesse Ray, we sponsored that event as well.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and let me see. Then there was another event. Someone called me yesterday. If there's an event that is well ran and they're for the cause, I'll sponsor them every year.
Awesome.
There are some good people out there, and they really they're for it. And you could see that they have a lot of female students, and the ones that are if not a lot, the ones that they do, they really want to promote and have them feel at least like they're being treated fairly. And it's not, I want to make it clear. This is not a sexist thing. It's not like rah, 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 women this, women that. It's not about it's not about that. It's just about giving what's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. It's about what's right. It's not about, trying to elevate the women to decrease the men or anything like that. I mean, there has been events that I've given to the women and the men's division.
Okay.
So,
Awesome.
so I just want to make that clear. It's just coming up with a win-win solution for change.
Awesome.
So,
and Maggie, what I'm glad too is that you have a plan in place to keep it going, and that you don't just burn yourself out and just spend all your money, because we've seen that with, years ago, Lee Island did a great thing for seniors. And man, I mean, I miss that now, seeing that, because a lot of our seniors, we're seeing a lot of discrepancy in that again, and he took it to another level.
Yeah.
But he was just doing it out of his pocket and burned himself out,
And that's what happens, is that, the promoters don't get on board and they don't appreciate it.
Right.
They really don't. There's some that are just, not everyone, but just there are some, they're just takers. They'll take, do for me. And they don't want to do anything for the other side. But you have to, I'm a pretty smart person.
Yeah.
I can be quiet or I not so quiet, but I'm not a dummy. And I think anybody that knows me knows that. And, but I have to say right now, I love WKC.
Okay.
I don't know how you guys feel about WKC, but I love WKC.
Oh, I like it. I think it's a fantastic format.
Yeah, he's really grown, and I like the Plowdens. They're really good people. And that's also why, a big reason why I'm sponsoring Impact's K-Talk.
Okay.
Is because Plowden's the coach. So as far as the fight team. Yeah. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. This has been a great time. Yeah. This has been awesome. And this is I mean, like I said, we don't know what to expect. We just knew we were just going to flow and let it go. And like you said, we've had a good time talking and discussing really key points,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So one thing I want all our insiders to know, this is our new Patreon channel. So we have patreon.com main network. That's where we're going to be having bonus content. We're going to start doing all of our live shows there for every podcast. So if you go ahead and sign up, it's $5, so we have other tiers if you want to go up and do that. But that way we can start running our own events as well. Also being able to go to all of these events and not just watch it on live stream or whatever as well, or if one of us is there, but us be there to actually tell about it and tell our side of it. We have a lot going on with the main network. So keep sharing, liking, and go check that channel out, and just keep supporting what we do, because we're having a blast. This has been 3 years for our show, and same thing with
you even
CTE.
believe it, man.
Yeah, it kind of went by really fast. So we are just still really just in the beginning of all this. So really just excited to keep spreading the word of the sport and of martial arts. So awesome. All right, Alex.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you guys next week. Thanks, Maggie.
Thank you.